Hello everyone, The Conceptualize welcomes you all, and in this session we will cover lecture number 5 of Indian society, and I will advise you to watch previous 4 lectures and if you have not yet. So Indian society UPSC GS-1 के लिए है, यूपीएससी मेंस का पार्ट है, स्पेसिफिक डोमिनेटेड बाय मेंस बिकॉज आजकल यूपीएससी मेंस में इंडियन सोसाइटी से अराउंड जो वेटफुल क्वेश्चन आते हैं दैट रेंज बिटवीन 90 to 110 because now the weight of Indian society is even greater than history and geography. So Indian society must be given enough attention because you cannot write specific and expert answer without following the topic, the syllabus in detail. So based on today's topic, you will be able to cover has the formation of this question of UPSC asked in 2016. So GS1 2016. So PYQ has the formation of linguistic states strengthen the cause of Indian unity, and the question was asked in GS1 paper. So you must be able to answer this part कि क्या लिंग्विस्टिक स्टेट्स के फॉर्मेशन ने स्ट्रेंथन किया है इंडियन यूनिटी को. तो हम लोग लिंग्विस्टिक डाइवर्सिटी के डोमेन में इसे यूपीएससी GS1 के इंडियन सोसाइटी वाले टॉपिक पे कवर करेंगे. सो फर्स्ट वी विल अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज मॉडर्नाइजेशन. आवर टॉपिक विल स्टार्ट फ्रॉम हियर. व्हाट इज मॉडर्नाइजेशन एंड इंडियन सोसाइटी कितना चेंज हुई है. हैज इंडियन सोसाइटी चेंज अ लॉट and traditional values collapsed, or Indian society yet following the path of modernity and modernization, it still follows its traditional values. So इन चीज़ों को हम चेक करेंगे. So first of all, what is modernization? What aspect? हम सबसे पहले समझेंगे that what is modernization. So modernization is the process of what? Social, political, economic, cultural changes associated to what? Society's journey of development. यानी कि डेवलपमेंट में जो इकोनॉमिक, पॉलिटिकल, कल्चरल, सोशल चेंजेस हुए हैं वो इस एरा में मॉडर्नाइजेशन की डेफिनेशन में आते हैं. एंड इट इन्वॉल्व्स, अगर हम इसके कंपोनेंट की बात करें तो हम बात करेंगे अर्बनाइजेशन के बारे में, एक्सपेंशन ऑफ मॉडर्न एजुकेशन के बारे में, साइंटिफिक डेवलपमेंट, secularization and rationality. These are the 5 important areas where we will focus the aspect of modernization in Indian society. The phenomenon of modernization has been influencing traditional values and institutions of Indian society. So in what ways they are influencing? It is weakening, I mean modernization is weakening the influence of caste system. यानी कि मॉडर्नाइजेशन मीन्स आधुनिकता ने कास्ट सिस्टम को वीक किया है इंडिया में. इट हैज वीकेंड. गुड इवनिंग सुरेंद्र एंड दीपक. इट हैज वीकेंड व्हाट? कास्ट सिस्टम इन इंडिया एंड रिड्यूस्ड what has been reduced? The belief of purity and pollution, which is the fundamental basis of caste system in India. So purity and pollution का आइडिया जो अपर कास्ट एंड लोअर कास्ट के लिए अप्लाई होते हैं वो उस बिलीफ को मॉडर्नाइजेशन ने कमजोर किया है. ठीक है. ओके, वी विल अंडरस्टैंड सम मोर. न्यूक्लियर फैमिलीज. इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन एंड अर्बनाइजेशन हैज लेड टू न्यूक्लियर फैमिलीज. वी हैड डिस्कस्ड अर्लियर व्हाट वर द मेन कॉजेस बिहाइंड growing trends of nuclear families in India. So the main one, urbanization, industrialization, and in general we can say modernization, that has led to disintegration of the joint families, and the joint families are now breaking into smaller nuclear families because of globalization, because of migration for urban areas for job, because of migration for higher education within India and outside India. These phenomena are leading to nuclear family. The phenomenon of nuclear family are rising, and that's why the number of nuclear family has rose to 52%. 52% families in India are nuclear. Fine. So what is this number and how it has been strengthened? As per the survey of 2011, this number is absolutely correct. The process of secularization got strengthened with modernization. How? See, rationality and advancement of science and technology had questioned the authority of religions, not only Hinduism, not only Islamism, not only Christianity, not only Buddhism, but all other religion has been questioned by the scientific temperament of the modern generation. Therefore, declined the influence of religion in the sphere of society, behavior and attitude. Fine. Intergenerational conflict have been rising. Why? Because it is generally believed by our elderly that younger generation do not understand the sentiments of the elder one, and same way younger generation was supposed to more disciplined in front of our seniors, our elderly people, but Indian younger generation is blamed for being more reactive and less cooperative with elders. So these complex phenomenon has been rising because of nuclearizing tendencies and preserving the self-value over the families, self-value over the society, and making himself or herself more specific, concerned and interest driven. And therefore modern economy and scientific revolution has made traditional knowledge by modern generation as irrelevant, and that's why intergenerational conflict has rose. So what are other aspects? Gender parity has risen. Why? Because giving education to girls have been more aware of the market, girls are being more aware for the educational opportunities, jobs. Therefore they have more avenues and more opportunity to assert their liberty, their belief of being equal to member of the other society, and especially man. That's why women are diluting the patriarchal values of the Indian society. Therefore you can say that women rights have been specific for declining of the patriarchal setup of Indian society, and these values have been even glorified by man as a youth. Okay, so despite impact of modernization, we have certain traditional values in continuation. So now we will examine what are the traditional values are yet in continuation despite the presence of modernity and modernization in the society. So what are traditional values have been preserved? What are the traditional values in continuation? So we have to now examine that. So traditional values and institution continues to exist even after the modernization. We will examine which one and how. For example, caste system was strengthened after digitization, urbanization, in form of that in urban areas, even during the British period, caste association were formed, and after independence, caste association also strengthened because of democratic system. Caste matters because caste has number matters in democracy, and that's why political mobilization is common in democracies. See, here you can apply the idea of, if you have the optional of sociology, you can apply the idea of Marx, that Marx once believed that class in itself has been transformed into class for itself, for struggle, for association, for unification of the member of the suffering communities, suffering classes. So if we replace the term caste for the class, we will get that Marx is somewhat correct in this regard, because caste associations are making Indian society more vocal from the lower caste side, and that's why we can see and we can be proud that in India has produced Dalit Chief Minister as Mayawati, backwards Chief Minister, backwards Prime Minister in India. For example, the first backward Prime Minister in India was Dev Gowda ji, later Narendra Modi ji, and many states have Chief Minister from backward communities because of caste-based mobilization. Caste played greater role in the politics of state of Bihar, the politics of state of Uttar Pradesh, and the politics of state of many other states led by the national parties who play who plays greater cost politics for mobilization of the voters. Through the structural pattern, families have been changing. I mean, nuclear families have been growing, but it is not that same case, because despite growing nuclear families, close connections from their existing joint families are yet in continuation. Joint families are in continuation. In what forms? To fulfill the ritual obligation, when there is marriage, when there is birthdays, when there are festivals, and many other things. Therefore, family structure is still prevailing in Indian society. Traditional festivals are being celebrated. See, despite we believe that in modernization, traditional festivals have lost their value system, therefore traditional festivals lost their significance, but we cannot simply wipe out the importance of traditional festival, because in modern times, when people do not have identity based association, when ethnicity is diluting, there are something which associate the individuals to form groups, associate the groups to form larger groups, and that is nothing but the festivals. That is nothing but because of increased communication, expansion of religious values. Therefore, despite on one hand we believe that traditional festivals and values have been weakening, but on other hand we find that traditional religion and value system festivals are growing in such a way that they have been strengthened, they have been formed in larger groups, they were celebrated in no scale previous like this. So on one hand, as we believe that gender discrimination have been reduced, parity have been increasing, but on other hand we find that in traditional value system the gender roles are still prevalent and they play their manifestation in traditional patriarchy. So gender based stereotypes yet prevails in modern day society. So modernization could not only adapt to change in Indian tradition and didn't result in completely break away from the older traditions. Therefore, you can conclude with these points. This is a nice point for conclusion point of view. Fine. So what are other things we have to associate from this angle? Diversity in Indian society. Indian nation state is socially and culturally one of the most diverse. So now we will understand about the diversity. Diversity, it is a completely new topic. So we have to understand what is diversity, how diversity differs from other similar terminologies. So first let us understand that Indian nation state is socially, culturally very diverse. So one of the most diverse country in the globe. Diversity exists in India in which form? So it is geographical diversity, it is cultural diversity, it is a racial ethnicity, racial diversity and ethnic diversity, linguistic diversity and religious diversity. So before we go into the types of diversity, we should understand what are the diversity per se. Diversity can be defined as the differences in not just random sense but evolved as a form of adaptation not only the point of view of environment but also from the point of view of the culture, but also from the point of view of the socio-political conditions, economic conditions, livelihood. So to reduce social tensions, people around the world adopt, and these adaptation leads to the formation of newer ideas, newer idea-based society. For example, if a person from South India wears lungi or dhoti, there is certainly climatic regions because there is huge moisture in state of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. So people of southern state usually wear lungi even in the office. Now you think if you wear lungi in Delhi in your office, you might be caught under the mockery. Therefore, because In northern state there are other options available with suitable to the climatic conditions. In similar way, in tropical countries it is not advised to the people to have more spicy foods, more masalas, and more oily foods. Why? Because in tropical countries usually people have high temperature overhead, therefore they are supposed to eat lighter foods, small meals, salads, that keeps the body colder and relatively balanced in this humid and hot temperature. So our foods are very simpler, very green, just because of our adoption with the climatic conditions. In similar way, we adopted with Hindu Muslim type things, we adopted with various caste, and that's why large number of backward section grown, which are supposed to be Sudra during Uttar Vedic period, and with their evolution, with their learning of the language of the Vedic religion, with their understanding of the socio-cultural norms of Indo-Aryans, therefore they would be able to form a very diverse nature of society. And that's why even in the caste system, even in the system of religion in India, for every 3 kilometers it is believed that the tone of the person get changed, and within 1 kilometer in the villages we get the tone changed, and within 3 kilometers we get the water and the taste of water get changed. So that is nothing but the sign of diversity. So we can measure the diversity from following point of view. So one is geographical, one is racial. So we will start understanding diversity from the racial point of view first, then other. So what is racial diversity? Racial diversity is something that has been arisen because of many races present in particular place. In case of India, there are various races present. For example, Negritos are found in Kerala, Andaman Nicobar. Proto-Australoid are found in Central Asia, Central India. Mongoloid are found in Northeast and Ladakh. Paleo-Mediterranean and found in Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. There are some examples which are very interesting in this regard. For example, Nordic people are found in Indo-Gangetic plains. And so we can have a more classification in this regard. For example, Indo-Aryans are found in northern India, I mean this area, and Dravidians are found in southern India. So it belongs to Dravidians. Here it is, southern India belongs to Dravidians. So we will start having more classification from South India. And what is that? Negritos are found in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Paleo-Mediterranean and found in Maharashtra, and Proto-Australoid here in Madhya Pradesh. Nordics in Ganga belt, and Denaric Kakicides are found in place of, let's say, Gujarat and Rajasthan. Mongoloid we have discussed already. Tibeto we have discussed already in northeastern part, and Mediterranean we have already covered. Fine. So this is something we need to understand. So in case if you want to write something about this, you should basically draw this map. Drawing map always helps. So we will have many more ideas like this. So first we will understand how race and ethnicity differs, because differences are important from the point of view of not only means, not only for the writing answers and definitions, but also from the prelims point of view. So how race and ethnicity is being differentiated. Race is a biological classification. Biological classification means how human biology is made up of. For example, skin color, hair color, facial structure. It is something which is coming out of your race. Who you are, where are you coming from, means who were your forefathers, where were the composition of your mother and father. So these things decide what is race. Okay. and ethnicity is something arisen out of shared identities. It means culture, it means language, it means religion, and it means common past. If tomorrow you got settled in USA, your children might be learning US culture, and upcoming generations of even after your children, they will be able to understand and learn language of America, religion, culture and socio-cultural norms of America. Therefore, your future generation will supposed to believe that their ethnicity belongs to America and they are American. For example, being American in this regard or being Tamilian in this regard belongs to nothing but ethnicity. For example, we can have many more examples. For example, Tibetan is an ethnicity. Fine. Then what is race? Race, for example, Mongoloid is race. Mongoloid racial people can found in many more countries, in different countries, because racial identities are biological one. Fine. Racial identities are biological one. Race is a closed group. It means you cannot change your biology. Since you cannot change your biology, your identities are not going to change easily. Fine. And therefore it is a closed group. Fine. For example, white, Caucasian, black, Afro-American, Hispanic, these are the racial identities. Okay. And what are ethnic elements? They are taught. They are not biological. They are not inherited. So it is fluid. It is not a closed group. If tomorrow you settled in South India, you might be called Tamilian after, let's say, 2 to 3 generation or 5 generation. So Tamilian is our ethnic identity. See, there can be commonality. For example, American can be in ethnicity and American can be in the racial identity, because America has certain aborigines people who have the identity, who have the structure, who have the color, who have the height, who have the shape of forehead and hairstyle as a similar and equal level at, let's say, similar biological origin. Therefore, they are American from the racial point of view, and there can be American from the ethnic point of view. So there can be similar connotations and terminology even for racial and ethnic identity, but their understanding and explanation is completely different that you need to understand. So in case if tomorrow you are asked to write the difference between ethnicity and racial identities, you should be able to clarify, making point and differentiate based on the examples. So what is linguistic diversity? Now we will step one point ahead. What is linguistic diversity? In India, people speak about 1,632 languages and dialects. Out of these, 22 languages have been given place in 8th schedule of the Constitution, so they enjoy legal status. Which one? These 22 languages. The languages spoken in our country vary according to geographical areas. For example, and language also play a very important role in developing regional identities. For example, Telugu speaking people associate their emotional bond, regional identity from the state of Andhra Pradesh during 1956. We are taking certain year. That does not mean that before 1956 they did not have the emotions and regional identities. No, they certainly had even before 1956, but there is some reason why we are taking the example of the particular year 1956, because state of Andhra Pradesh were carved out based on a linguistic basis, and it was the first state was formed after the people's mobilization and acceptance by the State Reorganization Commission. So in 1956, India got its first state formed out of the language, and Telugu speaking language persons formed one state that was known as, and that is even known as, Andhra Pradesh. Later, based on economic and poverty reasons, Andhra Pradesh was further bifurcated into state of Telangana, and eastern part was said to be Andhra Pradesh even today. So that is different thing. We will not jump from linguistic basis to economic basis. We will focus on more on linguistic basis. There is a very frequent term you might be watching in newspaper, that linguistic nationalism, that when sense of belongingness is common based on language, so it belongs to across the religion, means person from different religion can have same language. For example, Malayalam Muslim, Malayalam Hindu, Malayalam Christian, they are living in Kerala, they have different religions, they might have different emotions from the cultural point of view, but they can have idea of the linguistic nationalism. But in our case, taking example of Malayalam would not be that sufficient, so it would be better to take example of Hindi. Hindi serves here much more better. For example, Hindi is spoken around 65% the population of India, and it is the largest speaking group in India. Across the religions of North India, Central India, people speak Hindi. Different regional locations, I mean western part and eastern part of the India, Hindi is common to them. They have at state wise they have different political associations and political boundaries, but still large number of middle class enjoy linguistic nationalism, so they promote Hindi to be national language of the India. However, Hindi is not have been declared as national language of India. It is the language of the governance, it is the language of the office of the constitutions, so therefore constitutional offices, so therefore it is a official language, not the national language. Far from the undermining Indian unity, linguistic states have helped from the strengthening it. जो आपको क्वेश्चन दिया गया है 2016 का, आप उसको इसके हिसाब से आंसर कर सकते हो. How? Because language prevented the sense of separatism, separatist tendency, where based on language there is no trade-off, there is no conflict between identity based on the language. National identities, if adequate national identities and regional identities, if they have get adequate recognition, reputation and representation, they are basically cooperating and not bifurcating, not contradicting, not contrasting. Therefore, regional languages, if got the states based on language, so such idea was first promoted by Fazl Ali Commission. So he was the first and pioneer to promote linguistic states, and such thing have strengthened the state. So we will understand some counter example. For example, undermining Tamil language in Sri Lanka led to civil war. Undermining the Bengali language by the dominating Western Pakistanis led to bifurcation of the Pakistan with the Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971, because dominated Punjabi and Urdu speakers of Western Pakistan were dominating, though they were in the minority in front of Bangladeshi Muslims. They were minority, but leading from the point of view of the education, point of view of the power, point of view of the controlling government. They denied Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's formation of government in 1971. So Mujibur Rahman led the liberation war of Bangladesh, and he declared Bangladesh freedom. So Bangladesh, it was declared as freedom of Bangladesh. Why? Because the linguistic contrast led to bifurcation of Bangladesh, and Bengali speaking of the East Pakistan carved out a new state called State of Bangladesh. Okay, so I hope you got this idea. You can have more such example if you know. For example, how can you forget linguistic lines when Europe was balkanized? So there was also ethnic, linguistic and cultural identities were dominating. See, language movement in language. See, that is one important point. Linguistic demand often have hidden agendas. and that goes beyond the issue of identity. Therefore, we should not allow having language. We should not allow having language as a fuel for any political motives, and it is better to have the representation, recognition of the language, different linguistic groups, and especially the groups of the person speaking are in the minorities as per the community, as per the number, because in democracy generally person belongs to minority group, whether it is minoritism based on language or religion, they generally suffer. If they will suffer, they might revolt. Therefore, to avoid revolt, give enough recognition, give enough representation to these minority segments, and especially minority based on the language, minority based on the religion and culture. Fine. So language movement in South were partly reactions to the caste dominations that we know, because exploitation of the local language speaking and poor people. Similarly, in Punjab, Suba movement had root in this Sikh identity. Tribal linguistic movement are also located in ethnic identities and survival debates. So these things have many more flavor, not just language. Language can be one powerful tool to organize people, tool to revolt against the state, tool to bifurcate. So advantage of preserving linguistic diversity. What are the advantages? National integration. Why national integration? Because different linguistic group, compare, if we compare Telugu language in comparison to Hindi, would ever Telugu speaking people be able to form a state government? If Andhra Pradesh based on Telugu language was not carved out. So now imagine if there is a large state including Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh as a state. So it is very hypothetical, but just imagine, would Telugu speaking persons would ever able to form out an state? Answer is no, because there were Hindi might be dominated as a language group. Therefore, it is better to having the linguistic state, and that was proposed by whom? Please comment if you know. Who was the first proponent of the linguistic states? Please comment. Okay. So preservation of traditional knowledge. So if we preserve the minority languages, their knowledge, their practices, their skills would be preserved, and there will be more inclusive society. Social inclusion, minorities, linguistic groups will be given representation in education, in social life, in economic development. So there will be social inclusion. In good governance, there will be participant. Fine. In diaspora network, see, it is easy for a Tamilian to have emotional bonds with a Tamilian living in USA. Tamilian living in USA and Indian Tamilian, as compared to a UP person or Bihari person living in India to form an emotional bond with a Tamilian living in USA. So language is here making a bridging relation. It bridges the people. It develops connections and trust between the similar language group. You can easily find out if one of your friend is Bengali traveling in some train. If there is other Bengali or group of Bengalis or families of Bengali, it is highly a possibility that your friend is supposed to talk to or join their gossip, and it may ignore you during the travel. Why? Because there is linguistic emotional basis. So rich linguistic diversity of India would enhance diaspora network across the border and help India accumulating soft power. Effective education. Primary education in mother tongue generally eases the education as a system for poor and for weaker sections in the local area. Multilinguistic abilities have been linked to cognitive skills. So for effective education, language also play a greater role. Now, threat to diversity in India. What are threats to diversity of India? So then first you need to understand what is diversity As we discussed earlier, if you understand what is diversity, you will be able to understand the threats. According to a People Linguistic Survey of India report, more than half of the Indian languages will die out in 50 years. How much? How much? More than half of India's language. Around 190 languages, which is most as compared to any other country in India. Around 190 languages are at the various stage of endangerment. Means they might be lost in future in our country. So around 190 languages are at the endangerment, means there are only few handful people of their speakers. Major threat is globalization. Globalization has dominated very few languages over other. For example, for Asian countries, in Africa, in America, especially North America, English has dominated. In Asian Asian countries, Chinese and Mandarin has been a dominating language. For Latin America, Spanish was dominating. Globalization has led to influence of transnational corporations, which have resulted central common language, mainly in English is in our case, and dominated over regional dialect and languages, and especially minority languages present in any part of the world. And certainly in case of India, see, now you know that speaking English have been symbol of status. English is not just language, it has also become a culture. When you say English is a culture, you might find that there are difference in taste, difference in clothing, difference in lifestyle, difference in choices, what they like to watch, what they like to hear. They might like jazz as compared to classical Indian melody. Fine. So globalization has dominated the language of English over Indian languages. Then what is nuclear family culture? Nuclear family culture is something where there is nobody to teach you local language, and if you know English, if you know Hindi, it might be possible for you to ignore Maithili, to ignore Awadhi and other regional dialect. So in joint family, our elderly teaches us that our local languages are one way to associate ourselves with our family. But in case of nuclear family, you are not supposed to have the original basis, the basis of your ancestors. So your upcoming children might not be aware of the regional language that we can see in case of people of Biharis, people of Uttar Pradesh and people of Maharashtra. If they are once settled in metropolitan, they usually forgotten the local languages of their forefathers. So nuclear family structure also leading to the death of old traditional languages. Fine. Interculture, intercaste and interracial marriages also led to such phenomenon, because these people are generally formed in nuclear families. Migration, if people migrate to urban area, it is a possibility that upcoming generation generally depends on the language and culture of the new urban areas, and old languages got annihilated. Increased use of internet made our generation an English generation. So there is nothing to discuss here. Lack of education in mother tongue. Fine. Lack of education in mother tongue also killing the local languages. Therefore, three language formula was suggested, in which one language as a mother tongue would be important, and there are lack of script in case of tribal languages. Our tribals used to speak but not write, therefore they do not have script. So in case of India, only 6 tribal languages, very important fact, only 6 tribal languages are supposed to have their script, and that is Santhali, Ho, Shaura, Munda and Kui. But other languages do not have a script. That is also killing, because these tribal groups supposed to have a script to write something, to transfer to upcoming generation, and if they lack a script, the oral tradition however will continue, but how long? And that's why oral tradition are not supposed to stay, especially in the digital generation. Lack of a script make it difficult to pass the language from one generation to other. You can simply write it. Assimilation of policies of government. Generally government is ruled by few dominating languages. In case of states, same trends are growing over. For example, in state of Bihar, more than 12 languages are spoken, but which one is dominating? Just Hindi. And in case of second language, it is English, and lots of languages have lost in state of Bihar. Similarly, in state of Bengal, you only know that is Bengali is the only language, but Bengali was imposed over the persons of Gorkhaland, because Gorkhaland were not supposed to speak Bengali. They had their own local language. Now even nowadays they have that language, but it is diminishing, prescribing high standards of proficiency in official languages. So those 22 languages have been grown, and especially more focused have been given to Hindi and English. That's why these languages are growing, regional languages are dying. Steps to conserve. So for example, कौन से स्टेप हम लोग ले सकते हैं इनको कंजर्व करने के लिए? So major steps would include constitutional provision. Article 29 and Article 30 provides a right to linguistic minority and linguistic commissioner as a provision of state languages. So there must be an office of linguistic commissioners and rights to form institutions based on language. Linguistic minorities got such rights. Schemes and programs of Government of India, for example, Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat, Bhasha Sangam, emphasis on education in the mother tongue in new education policy. That would be important to you, right, and to know, because it is also important in case of prelims and also in case of mains. So we will take only few seconds of you. We are just initiating an optional who has delivered the most number of bureaucrats in India, an optional who has delivered every fifth selection to Labashna, every fifth selection in UPSC, and every fifth candidate going to Labashna was from sociology. We are initiating our batches in sociology optional, in English medium and in Hindi medium. Sociology optional provides you benefit of optional of 500 marks in 90 marks in Indian society and 90 marks in social justice, around 125 marks in essay and 75 marks in ethics. So if you will add, they are more than 300. They are more than 300 and 800, sorry, they are more than 800, and that's why optional sociology delivered Animesh Pradhan 2023 rank 2. It delivered Jagrati Avasthi rank 2, Anukumari rank 2, Gamini Singla rank 3, Srashti rank 5, and there are many rank 6, rank 8, rank 9, rank 10. Lots of toppers are from sociology. So that will be enough for today. Thank you so much and have a nice time. And certainly good night.